Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's challenging, but in the best way. You know.
Yeah, creativity and creative work should be a challenge.
Yeah.
And Otto certainly is a challenge.
Sorry. Can't count.
That's what you do. That's what you do in dancing. So you go 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Hi.
Why are we here?
Because I want to promote my album, and these guys I've had a really lovely relationship with, and I really wanted to talk to those guys in open actually about the experience that they've had with me. Now it's all done. Yeah.
Now we can tell you the truth.
Exactly. Yeah, you can tell me the absolute truth.
Right. Okay.
Can I ask you who are you and what you do and what's your role in the album?
I'm Otto, aka Sonotto. So I wrote, arranged, and produced the whole thing, and then recorded parts of it with Dom over here, and we mixed together, and Matt and I mastered together.
And can I ask both Dom and Matt, when and where did you meet Otto?
When was it? It's
2022.
2022, so 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Otto started coming into the studio through BIM. It
was
the BIM classes. Or was it the BIM? It wasn't classes, it was like open access basically.
It was open access sessions, and you know what I remember is I remember coming in and having my first session with Connor, my first two, and I turned up and you were in, and I was like, oh. Because I'd met you before.
Guy.
Yeah, I know. And then I think I noodled around on your synths for ages.
Yeah.
We just sort of sat there.
Sat making sounds.
Yeah. And I think I had an hour left, and I said, shall I show you some of my music? Yeah, all right. Yeah. And then I said, do you mix? And he's like, yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. And I thought, all right. And I gave you, I think it was We Are Labels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I said, show me what you can do in half an hour.
And we did.
Like an interview. And
Yeah. Well, we just did, didn't we? We just kind of sat there.
Matt?
So I think, when did we meet? 2018, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, on a dingy industrial estate in South Bristol. So it was a college that I used to teach at, and I interviewed a much younger Otto. And that day sticks in my memory a lot, actually. Came and played some music, and I was instantly impressed. Technically speaking, we shouldn't really have taken you on the course, but the music itself and Otto in the interview was so impressive that we had to take him. One thing that I was impressed by straight away is this ability to kind of zoom out and see the whole project, and also a real passion for detail and attention to detail. And I think that's quite rare to have that balance of both of those things. I think you always had the vision and you always had the creativity. It was just a case of giving you the skills and the technical understanding and knowledge to be able to realise that.
John, can I ask you, what's it like to work with Otto?
What? It was firstly it was very fun because you just really never knew what was going to happen, and the music's so eccentric, is that the right word? I don't know. It's that
singular,
like anything could kind of happen, and you wouldn't, one week to the next you wouldn't know what really you'd be working on. But kind of reiterating what Matt said, he's just your ear is just excellent. It kind of makes it a challenge because I'd be kind of doing something and you'd be like, what's that? And I'd be like, what are you even hearing? And normally my ear would get a click, but you are able to focus in on stuff that I just wouldn't even worry about.
I had a similar thing with that I noticed in terms of like rhythms and stuff, and if like things are slightly out, like instantly.
But
whether it's how you wanted it to be or not.
Exactly. Partly it's because sometimes it is quite out. It's very push and pull. All the stuff you do, which is partly what makes it so interesting. You've got some gridded things like the electronic elements, and you've got things that you've kind of just spoken into a mic or like made kind of noises and placed them around. But they do really have this organic kind of rhythm to them that is not on the grid at all.
Almost like a rhythmic sensibility I've not heard before, I think. Yeah.
Blimey.
And what's kind of interesting is I
like
get the sense that you know exactly what you want rhythmically. You know how out it should be. Yeah, and you know when it isn't. And yeah, I was really surprised that I'm quite good at hearing that stuff too, and I couldn't really hear it.
And can you tell us just a bit about the structure of the album?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you. So I mean, I guess kind of similar to what Dom and Matt has been saying is I feel like my priority with these things is not so much does it make sense on a kind of an objective or technical point of view. It's like, just does it work? And I feel like anyone knows that, really, if they kind of really, I suppose, can trust themselves in a way. Because like if you feel something, the first thing your mind wants to do is, you know, try and understand why you're feeling that, because that's all it can do. But ultimately you just know you got that feeling. And I think the structure, that was just it. It was like it was going from Vale, and I just felt, I might have even thought about it, but there was kind of energy there for it, of like, I just want to go into I love you but I don't need you. And then I think we were with Matt on the mastering process, and it maybe took us like 5 minutes just to get a little just thing. Because I remember I was like, sometimes I can be very demanding, I think, so controlling, I think it's probably a word. But I remember when we were doing the thing, I was like, move it just a little bit back, that one, and then
in terms of the flow and the timings.
Between the songs, right at the end, just to get exactly when one song finishes and the other one starts, because it's like you just sort of know when it happens.
That's a perfect example of how like you're so good with the details, but you also have this ability to be able to zoom out and know what's right for the whole picture. And I don't think everyone does. You said a second ago that, you know, everyone knows if it's right or not. I don't necessarily think that's true.
No,
it's as in like to someone listening, it's like, oh, I feel it.
Yeah.
You know, they might not know it's because, you know, that track is in that particular point of time. But even when I'm doing it, I'm feeling it.
But you're able to put yourself in the perspective of the listener, even when you're in the depths of a creative project, which isn't easy to do, isn't
And
it?
trust your intuition.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it's the
what it
feeling
is.
is what's universal. I think that's what maybe I'm trying to get across with that. Is that, like, you know, you could have a virtuoso musician that could play absolutely everything, you know, and they can do all the amazing modes and play these diminished and go over in the circle, all this stuff. But if it doesn't feel right, it's only going to be understood and appreciated from a very academic point of view. But then it's not. But the feeling is universal. Like, everyone knows when something feels right.
Yeah.
But you know how they perceive the feeling is
true.
different.
But the ability to be able to do that whilst in the depths of the creative process was something that was, it's quite a rare thing, I think. Particularly when you're the owner of that creative work and you put yourself into it, it's quite hard to get out of the way and get out, you know, take your ego out of it and detach, and that's something that you're able to do, I think.
Can I ask you, was there a spark of inspiration, or if you like, a damascene moment?
To be honest, not really. Like, I feel like it changed its form in so many times, because the earliest track I made in this was in like April 2020, a long time ago, and at that point I had no, you know, concept of We Are Labels or what it was going to be called. And it just so happened at one point, I think it was after, you know what it was the title track. I think I named We Are Labels, and I think it was such kind of like a statement arrangement, because it does seem to kind of go all over the place. I just thought that just feels like a root of, like, you know, a mid-album, you know, crescendo, and then I felt like what else did I make in that time and kind of fit it around it, you know, and that's kind of how it does. So like the tracks produced were like 2020 to 2022, but as far as like the actual conceptual point of view of it and what it meant, I feel like with all these things it happens in retrospect. Because like if you were to try and write down your creative process when you're doing it and why it's happening and where it's going to go, you're going to have no space for anything else to come in. It's like we were just talking about before we started this, about like the flow and the frenzy. It's like you just got to create and do, and it's poof, move on. Now there's space for something new to come in, poof, give that attention, move. But if you bring it in and then try and take some of that and hold on to it, you're just going to slowly fill up and you've got no space. So I feel like when the album's finished and all that's done, now there's actually space to look at it and go, okay, what does that mean? What do these tracks mean? What am I going to talk about it? You know, so it's like, it's a whole kind of process. And
I don't know how related this is to the concept of the album, but something I noticed from an outside perspective with you as a person at the time was that during the process of making the album and through the process of finishing it, as someone who knew you from 2018, it felt like, to me, you were kind of going through quite a lot of personal growth as a person, and it felt like that period for me, you were settling into the person that I know now as Otto, I think.
It resonates because I think each of those songs kind of embodies sort of a pocket of an exploration musically, and I suppose you could say a refined exploration. Like I feel like there's lots of songs, like for instance Veil, like that are made that sound similar to that happened before, and then if you look at it on a macro level, it's like, well, that's that song and that's this song. But if you take it out on macro is big, isn't it?
Yes.
And a micro, you've got a macro, and then you just see it as this is one big creative process to that point.
And having some insight into the journey that you went on musically up to that point, and having to listen to a lot of your music previous to that album, it felt like that was kind of the capping of an era of that musical growth and personal growth for you. That's how I saw it.
I like the capping of an era because I think it's so lovely to look at the music as not my own, because so much has changed and so much has happened, and meeting you guys and getting to know you guys better, and and yourself, Milan, and even Ethan right now, it's like, this whole space is so far removed from the space I was in when I was creating that it doesn't really feel like my own anymore. And what that means is I can really look at it and feel it without the clutter of, is this me, and trying to, and feeling afraid about it. Like there's such a freedom, and I suppose that is the beauty of being able to, if you feel that, then it's really, you can just kind of play with it, and then you can, okay, how am I going to promote it in this? Because it doesn't feel like it affects you anymore, because that's happened, and now there's space for something new.
I mean, coming back to the musical makeup of the recordings and the songs themselves, there was a lot of things that were on that album that you've been experimenting with that weren't part of the music that you were making maybe a couple of years ago. So the way you were incorporating your bass, that was an earlier thing, and then you weren't really doing much with your voice early on either. So
the voice
kind of
was
experimenting with voice. That was quite a new thing for you. And it was just interesting to see that parallel with you trying lots of new musical ideas and then you sort of growing as a person too into the person that I know now.
Awesome.
It was interesting.
So can we ask about the title? We Are Labels. Yeah. Are we labels?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. People ask this and I'm like, I've got to come up with a really simple way of putting it. But I mean, off camera, we all kind of did a little bit of a guided meditation just to get here and now, so we can kind of talk from this moment. And, the conclusion I feel like we all kind of came to is that, how we see something is all about perception, So one person, for instance, Ethan, who's behind the camera at the moment, and I will look at that and we'll go, that's a 5D, that can do this, that can do that. But someone else can look at that and have no clue. They just see it for what it is. And actually, I feel like sometimes the less you know about something, the more chance you have to see the beauty in it, which is why I'm so envious of people who don't know much about music, because they can really feel the music, because there's nothing in the way. And I suppose some of the lyrics on the album, like, the lyrics of Veil and the We Are Labels and like the Infinite You track, are kind of relating to the notion of questioning, actually, is how we see something really what it is, or is it just our perception? So, when the We Are Labels, it's questioning, like, is the label we give ourselves, like where I'm from, how old I am, all this stuff, is that really important to the essence of who you are? Is it needed, or is it actually just something that is you sort of take with you, voluntarily, like you don't have to. I think it's the invitation to make yourself almost aware of yourself and see the space between. Yeah.
Can we ask about the creative process of the album? So what was it like? Just early morning phone calls, Zoom calls, or
Zoom calls? No. I mean, all of this was produced in bedrooms either up in Scotland, or We Are Labels was actually produced in the attic of my friend's flat in a little place called Linlithgow, when we both had COVID in lockdown, and I made myself this little sort of Zen cave up in the attic, and I remember sitting there just like, watching it flat back. And everyone's sort of walking beneath the porthole and just seeing Otto jigging and the ceiling's going away, like what the hell is going on? Yeah, it's like a wave. I feel like, when you're creating, it's not like you can say, right, I'm going to grab the creativity and bring it through because I want to do that now. It happens to you, and I think all you can do is just ride the wave and be attentive and not look at it too much, not think about it too much. So, I mean, when it came to that process, it was just all about that. It was like, I feel like making music. I don't know what's going to come, but I know that right now there's energy for it. So I just, and it comes. And if it's not at a point where I want to share it, I don't have to. That's just the process. Because creativity doesn't really care what the form looks like or how finished it is, or if it's gonna work on this label or whatever. That's all how you see it, But creativity is just a flow. It's just an energy. So like you just enjoy it while it's there, and when it's not, you just let it be. And it was just fortunate that this happened to come in a concise little package.
What kind of setup did you have though? Because I don't know actually, but I've always imagined it's essentially you, a laptop, one microphone.
Everything's MIDI,
and that's it.
Everything's MIDI. I had like a beat step that my friends actually all came together and bought me for my 21st.
The Arturia thing.
Yeah. I've never bought anything first hand. It's always been Gumtree for like £10.
Yeah.
And even the microphone that I got, which is like a Behringer C1, and I bought that about 4 years ago in an Oxfam for I think it was like £12. Haven't used anything else.
There you go.
Everything has been on that, and it's kind of weird in a way.
Things off me over the years, I think.
A little bit. I think a few pedals here and there, but no, I mean that whole album was just samples. I think on We Are Labels there was a little was it Vulcan Mini Modular? Used that for a few of the sounds, just sampled that in. And that kind of worked. I'm
missing my Vulcan modular. Do you?
I bought my own.
That's where that's going.
I bought my own. Oh no, back off.
Oh yeah,
back
I remember bringing that in for a workshop, and you. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I
sure
love
that isn't mine? Okay.
So can we ask both Dom and Matt about your contribution to We Are Labels?
Well, I made Otto the person he is.
I mean, just before these guys say anything, I mean, honestly, without these two sitting here, this project by itself wouldn't be here. And the stuff that I've learned, especially when it comes to mixing from this guy here, is extraordinary at what he does. And Matthew, who's basically taught me everything that I know, none of this would have happened. So, I mean, I owe the world to these guys.
I feel like it would have happened somehow. You would have made it happen somehow.
But it hasn't any other way.
I almost knew the Otto that came to me in 2018, I knew was going to make success happen somehow.
Yeah, I mean, as far as how I see my involvement, I was almost just... Otto came to me with these ideas and it instantly piqued my interest, and I almost just became the hands that almost knew what you were trying to do, and you'd explain, like, I want this to be more like this, and I'd be like, like this, and then it would happen.
Like,
but it was all you, not really though. But I think it was mostly just you. It was just like a vehicle for you to kind of finish what you were trying to achieve.
Vehicle's a nice word, because it's like, when you're working with other people, sometimes it can feel like you're trying to get through that person to your idea, but I think in reality it is more like it's just one big space of energy. It's like you're both trying to get to that point. You both know, so like you are in unison at that point.
Yeah, that's very much what our mastering sessions were like. There were lots of periods of silence, playing around with kind of different textures and tones, and then we just look at each other and just know in that moment, okay, that's right.
Yeah,
I think for me it was very much a case of just identifying what your artistic vision was and trying to just bring that out in the best way possible, and it was a really easy process. We did the whole album in 2 sessions, I think.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, very quick.
I think we had a
testament to Dom's mixing. There's mastering, there's often a lot of corrective work to be done, but it was mostly playing around with kind of textures and pulling things out that were great, that were in there, which was good.
I think I'll have to say as well, I remember when I played you the Veil and you were like, I think this needs work.
I did say at the time that was a joke, though. That was a joke. That was a joke, also.
Can we ask Matt what was his first impression when you come across the project?
The first thing I felt was proud and privileged to be a part of Otto's growth and journey, and to have had insight into the learning process and testing a lot of these creative ideas and practices out, to then hear this really interesting, pure creative work. Has felt like a culmination of a lot of the work that we've done together. It was, proud, I think, was the main thing. Yeah, it was just really interesting to listen to as a fan of music, I think, as well. I remember we listened to it together first, didn't we? We just sat in my studio and hit play, thought about the order of things and getting the spacing right between the songs, and not knowing what was going to come next. Yeah, that sticks out as one of the main experiences, I think. Yeah.
That's really lovely, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's it like to work with Otto? Be honest.
Always a pleasure, actually. It's never knowing what's going to happen, and so Otto has this kind of unique balance of kind of the intuition and the very much the energy and the feeling of it and kind of big picture. But when you work with clients on a mix project, a lot of the time they won't necessarily know what you're doing, whereas Otto kind of has both. He sees what you're doing and he's like, I know exactly what you're doing. You'll pull up a plugin or try and do something, and you'll be like, oh, interesting. And you'll be like, what's he thinking? Like this? Is this good? Is this bad? I don't know. But Otto always knows. And he'll definitely let you know. If something's wrong, he'll be like, no. Yeah. Just no. Not overly polite or anything way, just like, no, that's not right. Let's try this. And, oh yeah, okay, fine.
That's quite refreshing.
It really is, yeah. Because
I wish more artists had the confidence to voice when they weren't happy with
exactly.
things.
And they feel, sometimes I guess maybe they feel like, oh, they know what they're doing.
Better,
but actually, music is a collaborative thing.
Absolutely.
It has to be. That's how the best music's made, I feel.
And
well, that's how I enjoy it.
It comes from a respect for the artist's work and respecting what they need and what they want.
Yeah.
And Otto does speak up.
Yeah, he speaks up.
For sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's challenging, but in the best way.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, creativity and creative work should be a challenge.
Yeah.
And Otto certainly is a challenge.
No, I think I was quite fearful of collaboration because I felt there was a period of time whenever I'd work with someone, I'd hate to tell them what to do. I found that really difficult, just to say, please do this, don't do that, I don't like that, because I'm quite a sensitive person. So if somebody were to tell me I don't like that or whatever, for a little while that would be a hard thing to kind of swallow.
Yeah.
And so if I believed that I'm responsible for this person's feeling, it became like a personal interaction. Whereas you said, if I just say, no, that isn't right, it's totally impersonal. Because I'm basically just trusting myself and saying, I don't feel that's right. Nothing to do with you.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest things to learn about how to create music. I think it's knowing when things aren't right and when things are right. That's, if you look at how the world is progressing in music creation with AI, like it's a whole other topic, but there is AI generated music, and in the next few years there will be even more and even better. But actually, they don't know what's good, what's bad.
Yeah,
that's still the human aspect, and that is still what's going to be like the king of
100%
creativity.
Agree with that. 100%
and having that skill is essentially the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm optimistic in that regard.
Can we ask a very tricky question? Would there be a role for creativity in the next few years? Because you talked about the rise of AI. So would there be?
I think Dom kind of nailed it on the head there. To be honest,
I think it's going to be a tool that you can use, and I think there's a lot of opinions about it at the moment, and fear maybe, and a bit of kind of jobs are going to go, but actually if it's treated well and correctly, that won't be true. Maybe certain other jobs in other fields, but in music it's that human aspect of knowing what's right, what's good, and letting out what is right and deleting what isn't. That's going to be the skill.
A quick fire question for all of you.
Quick fire.
Track?
My favourite track, Veil.
What's your favourite track?
I don't know the name, but it's the one with... I'm terrible with track
names. Which is the one with the sax on the beat?
Mate, why do you research?
I don't know names, but it's the one with 5 basses. Is it 5?
5 basses?
Yeah.
Oh, what, Deep Throat?
That's it.
Yeah.
My
Also,
favourite.
what's your favourite track of the album?
Oh, God.
What's his favourite child, basically, you've asked him.
It kind of changes. Actually, I'm kind of slightly with Dom, Deep Throat, to be honest, because I feel like I could listen to that in lots of places, and I feel it's very meditative. The other tracks, I think, have a time and place, and they all have their own kind of worlds, but I think Deep Throat has quite a strong resonance there. Needs as well. Needs nice. I like Needs.
And can you tell us a bit about the album release? When would that be?
So the release is coming out on the 4th, and then, what was it, 4th, 5th, 6th, 4th of April. Yeah, thanks. There you go.
EPR, right?
5 days after the release, we've got a show at Strange Brew, which I'm really, really excited about. We got full band, including backing vocalists, and full visuals.
Yeah,
I'll be there. Yeah. 9th of April.
Yeah, 9th of April. Tuesday.
Excellent.
I'll be there.
A bonus question for you, Otto.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to be called the Bristol's answer to Ziggy Stardust?
Oh, I don't know. To be honest with you,
it's not that label.
Yeah, I think so. I think I wore that for a little while, and I really liked it. But I think it got to a point where it's like, you know, I enjoyed that, and now it's like I am my own thing. You know, I feel like I'm at a stage where it's like Sonotto is Sonotto, and it's not like I need to explain that they're like Ziggy Stardust, if that makes sense. I think with this album, it's going to be, fresh start, fresh chapter. I'm really, really excited. I feel like this is a very nice foundation for what's to come, because there is a lot to come. Because like I said, the music here is actually a couple of years old. You know, it just shows how long it can take to release some music. So there's so much in the pipeline.
No, music consumers don't realise how much backstory and time goes into the release. They just think it appears. And I mean, how long have I been writing my album for? It's been quite a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. There's still a music video that I remember you showing me clips for, and I thought, wow, when is that going to release?
Oh, that's out.
Oh, is it?
Thank you for
sorry. Look how loud my laughs are.
I know.
Can I ask each one of you, what are you listening at the moment on Spotify or Cloud?
What am I listening to?
That's a hard question. I hate that question. What am I not listening to?
I've just discovered an album by a band called Model/Actress.
I'm listening to a lot of old no wave stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of post rock stuff, neo jazz, South London jazz stuff. Kamal Williams.
That Sting album.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Have you heard the cover he's just done of Everything in Its Right Place?
Yeah. I saw that on his reel. Oh man. You know what's really I'm gonna break the barrier here. Yeah. It's whatever's on my Discover Weekly. Yeah. To be honest with you,
you are the perfect person for Spotify. That's the perfect advert. It's like, I don't know about music until Spotify tells me.
Honestly, and then most of the stuff I DJ, it's like I like that into the folder to go onto Bleep or Bandcamp and download it. And
do you buy records? Do you buy records?
Yeah, I do buy records. I like to sample physical records. I don't like the YouTube thing because there's too much time to think about it. You know, because I feel like you got this whole plethora, it could be anything. If I'm given a record, it's like, right, I've got to find something on there. So I'm actually more in tune with actually, does it feel right? Because it's like, that's all I've got is that record. Yeah. If I've got hundreds of YouTube, I might feel something's right, and then I go, what about this one then? And this one, and this one. I just lose it.
Yeah.
The best thing about 2024 is you have access to any piece of music that's ever existed. The worst thing about 2024 is you have access to every piece of music that's ever existed.
Yeah.
One final question.
Yeah.
What's next for Sonotto?
Oh, I can't tell you.
Get the album out of the way, I suppose.
Yeah. No, there's honestly, to be frank with you, there's a lot. There's 2 albums. One that is pretty much done as in the mixing stage.
Songs about
I've learned a lot from Dom, so I'm starting to try myself now.
Still all my tricks.
Yeah.
Sorry. Songs about breakfast.
Sorry?
Songs about breakfast.
Oh, don't start with that. Honestly, the people that come up to me is like, do you make that breakfast song? I'm like, yeah.
That's how you're going to be known now.
I know.
That's it. You've got to be careful.
No, I'll be right. There's albums and there's collaborative stuff. Honestly, this year is going to be super fruitful because I think getting this out of the way is just, like I said at the start, it's like I'm giving this all the attention that it deserves, and now it's boof, and now there's something ready to fill that space and go. So it's going to be a lovely channel, like a conveyor belt this year of music, for sure, to put it that way. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Right.
Marvellous.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys. Yeah, that was awesome. It's really hard, to be honest with you, to sit here and to take compliments.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, but it wasn't going to happen without that, so.
No. To be honest with you, the one that people are going to really get.
Right.